Alright, so to begin our pre-trip inspection, the first thing you're going to be doing is your 3 points of contact. You don't have to tell the inspector, you only have to go up. Making sure that when you get inside your truck, you got room, you can get yourself comfortable. Now we tell the inspector that to begin the test, we'll be doing a safe start. Make sure that the truck is in neutral. Pull out your trailer and parking valves. Then you're going to clutch in and do the ignition. With the ignition on, you're going to tell the inspector that your ABS lights are coming on and going off, so they are properly working, and then you start the truck. With the truck on, you're going to let the truck idle for at least 5 to 10 seconds just for you to be able to check your horn and country horn and city horn. You're also going to have your checklist that you can follow up, and you're going to start by telling the inspector the city horn is working, the country horn is working as well. Then you have your heater and defroster. So with the heater, you turn it to the heat, put your hands to the front, and you check your defroster as well. Put your hands in the top and on the side. They are properly working. Now, you're going to tell the inspector that you have your wipers. They are tight and secured, not cracked or broken. The rubber seal is not missing. You're also going to test your wipers and washer. So by pressing on the knob here, you push it in. You tell the inspector the wipers are working. In this truck, the washer fluid is not working. Then you're going to tell the inspector that your windshield and traffic monitoring devices are tight and secured, not cracked or broken, with no illegal stickers. They're properly sealed and clean. And your mirrors, which are your traffic monitoring devices, they got to be adjusted to you. Okay? Then we check our emergency equipment. We have a fire extinguisher that needs to be secure, in place, and full. We're going to tell the inspector as well that we should have 3 reflective triangles. We have it under there, not damaged and clean. Or you can say 3 red reflective triangles. And in the truck, in the glove box, or in the compartments, you got to have at least 6 spare fuses. Then you continue by checking your light indicators. On the left, you're going to have your panels for the headlights. You're going to tell the inspector that your high beams are working by checking up here. High beams are working properly. Then you turn up. You're going to check your left turning signal and your right turning signal. They are working properly. And your 4-way flasher or emergency lights, they are working properly as well. Now, once you finish checking all of the items, you're going to tell the inspector that now you're going to proceed by doing your service brake. You have to make sure you have enough air in your tanks. If you are below 100, you have to build the pressure. In this case, we already have around 120 psi, so we don't need to build the pressure, but we got to tell the inspector, I have enough pressure to proceed with the service brake. On the service brake, we're telling the inspector that we need to move the truck about 5 miles per hour, and when we stop by using our service brake, the truck shouldn't be moving left or right. So we put the truck in first gear. We're going to release the trailer and the parking brake, and we're slowly going to release the clutch until we feel that we're rolling, we're moving. Then we're going to press the clutch and the service brake, and we tell the inspector, the service brake are working properly. The next step is going to be checking our parking brake. We're going to pull out the parking brake, we're going to push in the trailer brakes, and we're going to tell the inspector, I'm checking parking brake. We put the truck in first gear and we release the clutch slowly until we feel the torque, and we can look at our RPMs, making sure that when they go down, it means that the truck is engaging. Parking brake is working properly. Now we're going to pull out the trailer and push in the parking, and we tell the inspector, I'm checking the trailer brakes. Same process, we put the truck in first gear, release the clutch. Once we feel the torque, we tell the inspector the trailer brakes are working properly. Now we put back the truck in neutral, pull out the parking and the trailer valves, and we're going to tell the inspector that we are going to check the governor. And the governor cutoff should be between 120 to 140 psi. We have to make sure that the truck is in neutral, and we build the pressure until we hear the governor cutting off. Alright, Now that the governor is cut off, we're going to tell the inspector that it's properly working. And the next step is going to be for us to proceed with our lab test. We're going to be checking for air leaks. So we're going to put the truck in first gear to lock it, clutch, first gear. We turn off the ignition, or the truck. We turn on the ignition, only our accessory mode, to see our gauges. And we're going to push in the trailer and the parking valves. Now we tell the inspector that in 1 minute we can't lose more than 4 psi. We're going to press and hold the service brake. During that minute we can't lose more than 4 psi. Or we're going to tell him that we need to make sure that the needles are stable. So when the needles are stable is when we're going to start the timer. You can have your phone, or if you're bringing a stopwatch as well, you can use it. So we start in 0, the needles are stable right now. We tell the examiner that we're going to begin. We wait for 1 minute completely, and we're going to be checking that we started around 95. We're already about 92. In one of the tanks, the other tank as well is a 92. So that means we lost more than 4 psi. Let's say that we finish. We have to wait until the meter is completed. We take our foot from the brake and we tell the inspector, Inspector, I have leaks in the truck. The next step is going to be for us to check the alarms. The alarm should be working between 55 or slightly above, or around 55 or slightly above, when we pump the brakes. So we're going to pump it, we're going to lower it down, and once we see the 2 lights coming on in the truck, we're going to tell the inspector that they are actually working. So we're going to pump it. Perfect. We see the 2 lights coming on the truck, and it is around 55 psi, so they are properly working. And the last step for us is to check our valve activation. It should work between 20 to 45 psi. So we're going to pump the brakes until we see the 2 valves coming out, and they should be in between that range. Great, so we see that the valve activation happened between 20 to 45 psi, so they are properly working. Now, Inspector, I have finished the lab test. Can you help me go check the external lights? We're going to put the truck back in neutral. And if he says yes, we're going to wait in the truck. He's going to be outside telling us if the lights are working. And then we switch on the lights on the left side, our headlights. We have our clearance lights, our emergency lights, left and right turning signal. Of course, we're going to wait for his response. And the same thing we're going to do in the back. We're going to check on the mirrors. We're going to tell him, Inspector, I'm checking the left turning signal. Turn it on, we'll wait for him. And we do the same for the others, right? Our emergency lights, and also our service brake to check the rear lights in the back, or the brake lights. Now we're going to go into the front and continue with the pre-trip inspection on the exterior. When we're outside, we're going to tell the inspector that we have our lenses in the front. All of the lenses in the front, we have to make sure that they are tight and secured. They're not cracked or broken. There's no condensation on the lenses. They have to be clean and not missing any of your lenses. Then we're going to make sure that it's open on both sides with the latches. And we're going to pull the hood to reveal the engine compartment. On this side, we have our coolant tank. We're going to tell the inspector that for the coolant tank, we have to make sure that it's at the proper level. And we go to the driver's side, and we continue checking the other fluid levels. On this side, we're going to have the oil dipstick. We have to make sure that the oil dipstick is between out and full. For us to check it, we have to pull it out. We got to clean it or wipe it, put it back inside, and take it out. We only have to mention it. We don't have to do it. And we got to check that it's between out and full. We're going to have the power steering tank. The power steering tank should be as well in the proper level between out and full. We're going to tell the inspector that under the truck, we don't see no leaks or puddles. and in the engine compartment we don't hear any air leaks. Then we continue with our steering system. Tell the inspector the steering box has to be tight and secured to the frame with no cracks and no leaks from the steering box. The hoses have to be secure with no cuts or leaks in those hoses. Then we have our steering linkage. All of these bars are the steering linkage. We have to make sure that they are secure and tight, no cracked, no bent. We also have the castle nuts right here and here. They have to be tight and secured with the cotter pin in place. When we finish with the steering system, we're gonna go check in the list. We have our tires. We're gonna tell the inspector the tires in the front have a minimum depth thread of 4/32 of an inch in the front, and in the back they have a minimum depth thread of 2/32 of an inch. No cuts, no nails or bubbles should be in the tire, and the pressure should be around 105 psi. We also have to check our ball stem. Has to be down here. The ball stem has to be tight and secured, no cracks, no leaks. And the original cap needs to be present. The rim, tight and secured, no cracks, no illegal holes or any illegal welds on the rim. We also have our lug nuts. All of the lug nuts in our tires, they have to be tight and secured, not missing, with no metal shaving or rust. These ones are the lug nuts. Then we continue on the inside. We're going to tell the inspector that we have our leaf springs. They have to be tight and secure, not cracked or broken, and not missing. We also have the spring mounts. They have to be tight and secured to the frame, not cracked or any missing bolts or nuts. We have the U-bolts. They gotta be tight and secured, as well as the mounting bolts, and not cracked or broken or loose. The shock absorber as well has to be tight and secured to the frame with no cracks, no leaks, and the bushing should be present or not missing. This one is the bushing, the rubber in between your screw and your shock absorber. Now you're going to tell the inspector that the truck should be level from the left to the right, as well as front and back. That means that the suspension is working properly. We continue with the brake hoses. The brake hoses, they have to be tight and secured to the pressure fittings with no cuts or leaks, and in between your brake shoe and the brake drum on the outside. You have to make sure that there is no oil or grease between the two. Now we can close the hood and we continue with the inspection. Now, on the side of the vehicle, we're going to see all of our lenses. So we're going to tell the inspector that all of the lenses on the side, we have to make sure that they are tight and secure. They're not cracked or broken. We don't have no condensation on the lenses and reflector, and none of them are missing. We're going to check our mirrors. The mirrors have to be tight and secured, not cracked or broken. The mirror bracket has to be tight and secured, not cracked or bent, and not missing any bolts or nuts in the hardware that we have. Then we're going to continue with the battery box. We're going to open the door and we're going to show the inspector that our batteries are under our passenger seat. So we're going to tell the inspector the battery box needs to be tight and secure. On the inside, those batteries shouldn't have no corrosion, no leaks, and the connections as well should be tight. Then we have the fuel tank. We also have the DEF tank right here. We're going to tell the inspector that the fuel tank and DEF, they got to be tight and secured to the frame. No cracks and no leaks from the hoses or the tank, with the original cap that should be present. We're going to do the same thing for the DEF. We have to make sure that it's tight and secured to the frame with no leaks from the hoses or the tank, and the original cap needs to be present. Then we're going to continue by checking the tractor frame. You have to make sure that the tractor frame is straight, it's not cracked or broken. We're not missing any cross members, and no illegal holes or any illegal welds in the frame. We have the tractor frame. We also have our trailer frame. The trailer frame, we're going to mention to the inspector. You have to make sure that the frame and the cross members down here, they all have to be tight and secured, not rusted, not missing, and no illegal holes or welds. The panels on the trailer and the floor down here have to make sure that there's no holes and none of my panels are missing. Then we check the combination and we have our service brake line and emergency brake line. Both of them have to be tight and secure to the pressure fittings with no cuts or leaks. On the trailer, we gotta make sure that there's not missing any of the rubber seal in between and there are no leaks or cracks. The electric line has to be tight and secure on both sides. The latches should be working properly and no exposed wires in the electric line as well. Then we're gonna have all the connections that they need to be lifted off the catwalk. Now we're gonna check the fifth wheel down here. So right under here we're gonna have the fifth wheel. You have to make sure that the fifth wheel is and the skid plate are tight and secure to the platform. There's no damage and it should be properly greased. We also have in between the middle the gap, meaning that the apron has to be tight and secured, not cracked or broken. No illegal holes or any illegal welds. And in between the apron and the fifth wheel, zero space between the two. In the center, we're going to have the kingpin. We have to make sure that the kingpin is tight and secure. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. And the locking jaw, which is behind it, has to be in the lock position. Then we have the locking pins of our sliding fifth wheel right here, and those one right here. They all have to be straight, not bent, and in the lock position. And we have the release handle that has to be as well all the way inside in the lock position. Now we continue telling the inspector that we gotta have a proper clearance between the mud flap and the landing gear, and that our landing gear needs to be straight, not cracked or broken. Our legs gotta be raised all the way up, not missing any bolts or nuts in the landing gear itself, and the crank handle for the landing gear should be in the lock position. Now we continue on the side, checking the reflectors. We have to make sure that all of our reflectors are present, they're not damaged, and they are clean. And we go all the way to the back to check the lenses. All of the lenses that we got in the rear, clearance lights, brake light and signal light, they have to be tight and secured, not cracked or broken, with no condensation and the proper color. And we also have the DOT reflector that has to be present and clean. And then we can say that we finished the pre-trip inspection.